Hi all, today we will be dealing with interact with HTML forms. An HTML form is a section of a document that enables us to interact with servers. For example, when we are filling some Google form or something like that, we will be asked to enter some data or details into the form. And after filling every required details, we will be clicking on the submit button. So on clicking this submit button, all the details or all the data that we have entered will be sent to the server for processing. So this is made possible by some tags and their attributes, and there are some so many elements in HTML that enable us to do so. And also there are some special elements in HTML form called controls that gives users a very dynamic browsing experience. So this is the main function of HTML form, that is to interact with servers. Just now we have mentioned some special elements that are called controls in HTML forms that enable us to interact with servers. So a control has a control name, and this is defined by an attribute called name. Each control has two names, one is two values, one is initial value and the other one is current value. So every time initially the value of a control will be set to the initial value, and whenever a user comes and interacts with the form or enters some input into the form, then the value will be changed to current value. Now there are many types of controls. Here we can see input box, checkbox, radio, link, drop down, etc. So these are different types of controls, and here is a picture shown below for a clear idea. Now let's go deep into each of the types. So the first one is input box. As we all know, input box is the most basic type of control. It's just a box where the user have to enter some text into the box, and the text we are entering can either be a single line or a multi-line text. Here, this is an example of an input box. This is an input box where the user has to enter a name. So the name is the text here. Now all these controls helps us to fill a form or enter some details, etc. So we can automate this process of filling a form using some libraries and all if we need. Like we can write some code, and by running that code we can automatically enter the required values into a form. For example, this line of code shown below enters a name Peter into an input box like this. For this we can use many libraries, like for example in Python we can use Selenium and all for the purpose of automating the process of filling the forms. Now the next type is checkbox. A checkbox is denoted by squares, and the user have to click on the checkbox so that either the checkbox is ticked or it is unticked. When the checkbox is ticked, then it is activated, and when the checkbox is unticked, then it is not activated. And if a checkbox is already selected, and then if a user comes and click on the checkbox, then it will change into a status of unselected. And vice versa, like if a checkbox is already unselected, and then if a user comes and click on it, then it will be selected. And also in checkboxes we can select one or more options from the given set of options. Here also I have shown a code that enables us to select options from a checkbox. Now the next type is radio buttons. The radio button is denoted by circle, and this is very similar to checkbox. The only difference between the radio button and the checkbox is that in checkbox we can select one or more options from the available set of options, whereas in radio button we can select only one option at a time. For example, you can see here first the option 1 was selected, and by clicking on 2 the option 1 is automatically unselected, and also after that we will click on 3 and the option 2 is automatically unselected. That means we can choose only one option at a time. This also can be automated using a line of code like this. Now the next one is link. We are all familiar with links. Whenever we click on a link, it will lead us to a new web page or a page, and we can do actions in that page. So all we have to do is to just click on that link. This is also made possible using such a line of code. Now the next one is drop down. Drop down is a box, and at the end of the box there will be an arrow, and by clicking on that arrow a list will appear, and from that list we can select what are options we want. Here we can see a drop down list, and in this list the item 2 is selected. So all we have to do is just to click on the option we want. So this is also done using such a code. Now after entering all the details, now what we have to do is to submit the form. So in order to submit the form, we have to click on a button. This button will take all the data we have entered to a server for processing. So what we have to do in a button is to just click on the button like this. So this is also made possible using such a line of code. Okay, so now let's see how it works practically. Okay, so first we have to import all the required libraries. I am using Selenium here to automate the process of filling a form. So if you are using Selenium for the first time, you have to install it using pip install Selenium. And after installing Selenium, we have to import WebDriver. WebDriver is a collection of APIs that help us to interact with browsers. Also, it automates the uh, automates the actions that we are doing in the web page. After that, we have to import WebDriver Manager. This helps us to automatically manage web drivers. And here I have imported Chrome Driver Manager since I'm using the Google Chrome as my browser. Now this select is imported for the purpose of selecting options from a drop-down list. Now this is used to create a driver object, and I will be using this driver object further for every use of finding the element and also doing all the automation processes. I will be using this driver object. Now this is used to fetch the page I want. This link is of a form that we are going to fill now automatically. This is the form. Okay, so this is the form we are going to fill. Here we can see first we are given an input box where we have to enter the name. The next one is also an input box where we have to enter email, and the next one is a drop down list from which we have to select any option. And the next one are checkboxes from which we can select one or more options, and the other one is the last one is radio buttons from which we can select only one option. So this is the basic structure of the form. Now let's come back to it. Okay, now the first task is to enter a name into the input box. For that, first we have to find the element. There are many different ways of doing this. So I have used the method of finding element using path. We can also find the element by name, find the element by index. There are many methods like that. I have used the method of finding element by XPath. So I will show you how to do this. So this is the area where we have to enter the name. So so we have to right click in that area and then select inspect. Now the HTML code corresponding to that specific portion is highlighted here. You can see here. Now I am going to right click in that highlighted portion, that highlighted area, and going to copy XPath. So this is the XPath we need, and I'm pasting this here. Now after that we have to enter the value we need to input. Here the value we are going to input is a name, and for example I am inputting the name Peter into the input box. For that we are using send keys. This will send the name called Peter into the input box. Now the next one is to enter email. This is very similar to the one we have done just now. We have to find the XPath. For that we will be right clicking here in this area, then inspect, right click, copy XPath, just as we did now, and I will be pasting it here, and then I'm going to give the email ID, the sample email ID, as my value, as my input, and this is done using send keys. Okay, so email ID is entered. Okay, so the next thing is drop down. We have to select an option from the drop down list. For that also we have to find the XPath. For that I will be clicking here, right clicking here, inspect, copy XPath, paste in here, and here we have to use this select that we have already imported. This is done for selecting the option that we want from the drop down list, and also we have to use this select by visible text. Here also we can use many different methods like select by index. There are many methods like that, and I have used the method of select by visible text. In that case we will be giving the exact text that is given in the option. For example, here it is BSc or BA or BTech. So this is the option I am going to select. Now the next one is checkbox, and I am going to find the XPath. So suppose I am going to select the option Kuchi, then I have to right click in this specific box and then inspect, right click, copy XPath, and I am pasting it here. Okay, so this is the XPath corresponding to the option Kuchi, and what we have to do is to click on that option. Now we know that in checkbox we can select multiple options. So this this variable C corresponds to the option Kochi, and this C1 corresponds to the option Mumbai. Now comes the radio. Here also I am going to, suppose I am choosing this option, then I am right clicking here, inspect, right click, copy XPath. Here also I am pasting it. Then I am clicking on it like this. And now we have filled all the required details. Now what we have to do is to submit this form. For that we have to click on the submit button. For that we will be, for finding the XPath, we will be right clicking in that button, inspect, copy XPath, and we are pasting it here. Now I have to click on this. So this is how we have to do all these steps. Now let's run all these codes one by one. First let's import libraries. Now I am creating my driver object. I am going to fetch the page that we want, that is the Google form. Okay, so the page we want has appeared here. Now I am going to enter a name into this input box, this area. The name I'm going to enter is Peter. Now by running this code, the name Peter will be appearing here. Okay, so I'm going to run it. Okay, so the name Peter has appeared here. Now I'm going to enter an email ID into this portion. So I'm going to run this, and an email ID is entered here. Now this one I couldn't do this, sorry. This selecting option from drop down list I couldn't do this, so I am going to skip this portion. Now the next one is to select options in a checkbox. So as I have said earlier, I am selecting two options. One is Kochi and one is Mumbai. So by running this, this Kochi and Mumbai will be selected. Okay, so by running that, both these options are selected. Now radio button, I am going to select mail by running this code. Yes, so that's also selected. Now we are going to submit the form. For that, I just have to run this code and the form will be submitted. Yes. So by running that, the form is submitted. So this is how we can automate the process of filling a form. So this is possible because HTML forms has many tags and attributes, and also these special elements called controls. And using all these tags and controls, we can automate the process of filling a form. So this is all about it. Thank you.